Here we go. Elderly black male thrown on the ground and kneed on by the cops. Put up the picture full mass. Let me give you the background as to what happened. On the left, you have 68-year-old Jeffrey Lemon. Mr. Lemon was brutally arrested in 2021 by Georgia Sheriff's Deputy John House on the right, after he said he was falsely accused of running a red light. More than 3 years had passed before he was given the opportunity to prove his innocence in court, and only because his attorney had filed a motion for a speedy trial. The incident took place on May 27, 2021, while Mr. Lemon was driving his Camaro on Valley Hill Road and spotted a Clayton County Sheriff's deputy behind him, who turned out to be House. He said he was on the inside left lane and needed to merge into the outside right lane in order to make a right turn up ahead. But when he stopped his car at a red traffic light, the deputy stopped his patrol car next to him in the right lane. He said the deputy then refused to drive forward after the light had turned green, preventing Lemon from merging into the lane. Mr. Lemon said he waited a few seconds, hoping the deputy would move, but then began driving to the next intersection when it became clear the deputy was not going to move. He said the traffic light was green when he made a right turn at the next intersection, but the deputy pulled him over and accused him of running a red light. Mr. Lemon told the deputy he had not run the red light, but handed him his driver's license. But the deputy began accusing him of trying to avoid him, which is when he realized the deputy was trying to escalate the interaction. And when he attempted to call his daughter and a friend, but they did not answer, he then called 911 because he began fearing for his life, as the deputy began accusing him of things he did not do, which was when House called for backup. Now, before I continue the story, understand you have an individual who is not under arrest. He's been pulled over. It's a traffic violation. And in the initial proclamation from the officer, he said this is a traffic stop. If the stop was about avoiding the police or evading the cops, you call backup immediately. You don't pull them over, get their license, and say they may have done something of that nature. You tell dispatch quickly, I need backup. Somebody's running away. That did not happen. So Valentine arrived and threatened to shock the 68-year-old with a taser if he did not step out of the car. So he complied under duress, which was when Valentine wrestled him to the ground. And then House, both of these cops, placed a knee on his back, on the back of his neck. Quote, "I was humiliated," he said. Quote, for the guy to come up and not try to have any dialogue, he just immediately walked up and said, "Get your ass on the ground before I tase your ass," end quote. He said he had been on his way to rent a new home when he was arrested. So he had $1,800 in cash on him, but they refused to let him use that money to bail himself out, forcing him to remain in jail for 2 days. Quote, "They would not take the money, so I had to keep it in my shoe the entire time I was in jail," he said. He said the aggressive arrest left him with a condition called cervical stenosis, where he is now in constant pain and has already spent thousands of dollars in medical bills. So the deputy House describes the arrest in a much different light, claiming in his report that he became suspicious when Mr. Lemon did not pull forward at the intersection after the light turned green, believing he was trying his best to avoid getting pulled over. He then claimed that once Mr. Lemon began driving forward, he ran the red light when making a right turn, which was when House pulled him over. Now, the first obvious sign that this officer is completely incorrect is his assumption as to why somebody decided to make a lawful traffic decision. His assumption was that something suspicious has happened, and then I believe he made up the red light part. Okay, however, that claim contradicts his initial claim, because if Lemon was truly trying to avoid getting pulled over, he never would have run a red light knowing the deputy was behind him. House also claimed he began fearing for his life after spotting a knife in the center console of Lemon's vehicle, which was when he called for backup and ordered him out of the car. But Lemon said there was never a knife. There was no knife, Lemon said. I want to see their inventory list of things they removed from my car. That will show there's no knife, end quote. House claimed in his report that he found marijuana in the trunk while conducting an inventory of items inside the car, which they had ordered impounded. He also claimed, quote, the evidence was dropped off at the sheriff's office property room, but makes no specific mention to the alleged knife being placed in the room. Valentine ended up resigning from the department 2 weeks later without providing an explanation, according to his personnel records obtained by Atlanta Black Star. He was then hired by the nearby Fairburn Police Department. We've covered them as well for malfeasance the following month. And House, the other cop, resigned in November 2021 because he was unhappy a change in the mission of his agency. He was unhappy about a change in the mission of his agency that did not fit his personal goals. That's according to personnel records obtained from the Clayton County Sheriff's Office. House was then hired by the nearby Riverdale Police Department, which is within the same county, only to resign from that job 3 months later because, quote, the health insurance provided by the city is expensive and does not provide proper health care to my family, end quote, according to his resignation letter obtained by Atlanta Black Star. He was then rehired by the Clayton County Sheriff's Office March of 2022, where he remains employed today. There's a different sheriff there today than was then. Lemon believes there is a body cam and dash cam video that would prove his innocence. But when Atlanta Black Star made a public records request for any available footage of the arrest, the Clayton County Sheriff's Office claimed, quote, no record exists pertaining to the arrest. That sounds like another lie, Lemon said. The case remained pending for more than 3 years until his attorney filed a motion for a speedy trial, which is a right, last month. The trial is now scheduled to begin on Monday, and Lemon hopes prosecutors will drop the case without forcing it to trial. Lemon also said he was ordered to plead to a plea deal offered a plea deal late Thursday, where prosecutors would drop the marijuana red light charge if he pleaded guilty to obstruction, but he refused the deal because he plans on filing a lawsuit if and when he is cleared of all charges. All right, so that's the story. The elements that are going to be interesting here will be, if there's no record, then how was an arrest effected? If there's no record of the arrest, there are no records at all of the interaction with the officer. It doesn't make any sense here. They do have dash cam. They have video. Officers have video there. They have the opportunity to actually submit it if they choose to, publicly display. It's happened before. Yeah, something doesn't sound right. All right, Jackson, I'm not sure if this will become a bigger story, but you got to think about how insane it is. For somebody to actually have an arrest record with multiple officers involved, multiple police cars involved, and you say you have no video of anything that we're talking about, that already doesn't pass anybody's smell test whatsoever.
Yeah, and how convenient that they just happen to not have the video, like, when there's multiple of them here. I think it's important for people to realize, whether they're watching this show live or whether they're, pick it up later on in a few days or whatever, that the reason that we tell these stories is to galvanize our side, because the other side doesn't care about any of this. Like, their minds aren't going to be changed. This is what they want. You know, the right wants this. They want an authoritarian state. They want the police to put everybody else in their place. You know, just look at what they say anytime we talk about this. Doesn't matter what happens. Well, you know, black man shouldn't he should have just done what the police said. If he does what the police said, well, he should have done what they said better. He shouldn't have had his hood on. He shouldn't have ran. It doesn't matter what the situation is. We're always in the wrong. So the reason why we tell these stories and keep a spotlight on it is so that we understand what's going on and so that we can get more involved in the process, because this is what they want to see. So yeah, of course they hid the evidence and it's just another day for them. This is what they want to do. And I mean, ever since the end of the election, I can't lie, I've been having a difficult time just doing this job in general, because
Yeah,
sometimes it feels like, what difference does it really make? But you got to remind yourself that this is for us. You know, you don't be bothered trying to change people's minds who want to see you fail and who want to see you suffer. At the end of the day, if we want change, we have to do a better job on our side, really getting legislation through, getting better politicians in office, getting better officials in these seats, because they don't care.
that's right. And also, we always have an emerging political class. We call them young adults,
Yep.
and their minds are still very much so impressionable. And our ability to convey truth in a way that they can consume it becomes imperative.